So here I am again. I'm still on my walk, but I wanted to record it. Remember when I had told you earlier, I think in one of the first videos, is that the mall or the complex management had been put the run to the people staying in tents, the drug addict ones, because the garbage had piled up. They had been doing a cleanup. These bags of garbage, they must not have sent. The people have stopped cleaning up. This garbage has been here for at least a week, actually more than a week, because I think it was probably about 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, possibly, that they did the sort of sweep of this whole area and cleaned it all up, because the garbage was actually the garbage was right in this area, bags upon bags, but no one has come back, whoever they hired. But you can see they've still got, I thought they were going to come back the next day and finish taking this out, but still here. But this is where the original encampment was, where I think there was probably about 4 drug addicts probably living here, and the whole garbage was all piled up. Like it was literally a wall of garbage. They had to get a truck. You'll see trucks can drive through there. Literally, they brought a truck down here to haul the garbage away. There was that much garbage. It was a wall building up. They were putting it in garbage bags. They were just not taking it anywhere and letting it pile up. But this is where the original tent was. The one that I just showed in the previous video is the new one that popped up after they were evicted, so to speak. But this used to be a tarp with tents, quite a big one. And I'm going to go in here because you can see they had a fire pit. But this is where the original one was that they tore down and cleaned up, because the wall of garbage would have been right about over there, and this whole area here was one big kind of tarp and tent that some people were living in, and they had themselves, well, this wasn't in the tent, this was outside the tent, because that would have just set their tent on fire in the tarp, but they had themselves a nice little fire pit to keep warm, because guaranteed these people are also sleeping outside in winter as well. Some people go to shelters for the really cold days in winter, but most times everyone is still living in tents throughout the winter, right? January, February, coldest months of the year, they're outside in tents. So they're keeping warm somehow, like I would as well. I would do the same thing, except I'm just not on the drugs, but you got to keep warm when it's freezing outside. Shelters are usually all full. Shelters are not a safe place around here. I would never sleep in one if I had to. I just would rather deal with my van, because it's just the shelters are full of questionable people and a lot of drugs there as well. A lot of people down on their luck, but it seems to be not a safe place to be if you stay at a shelter for the night, and then hopefully they don't steal stuff from you, because that's the thing, when you get drug addicts, they steal for their habits. I mean, it seems like people steal more nowadays because of the greed, regardless of drug addicts, get drugs. But anyways, I wanted to show you that. And this is, I noticed, when they did the cleanup, they started tearing down these little trees. They must have started tearing some down. I don't know if they're trying to widen this to avoid people camping out in this little green belt or not, but this wasn't here previous to their eviction and clearing everybody out. And the other thing with that as well is, not only did they clear out the tents, they also cleared out the parking lot, because there are a lot of people living in their vehicles. The ones that are better off, that have a job, have some income, basically people who have an income and have a job that may not be a drug addict and can't afford rent. We live in our cars and our vans and campers. That's the new reality that's been going on, and I do it myself, live in my vehicle, and ever since I've been living in my vehicle, I can spot people who live in their vehicle, easy peasy. You just point it out, and it's, as one worker said, there's outreach workers, there's Souls Harbor that does some, handing out meals to people who live in their vehicles, because of course there's limited options for cooking, and of course no refrigeration and stuff like that. And then for, Salvation Army, basically, they see this because they go around and they do outreach. And I believe the Salvation Army person said it's getting worse by the day. So the outreach workers see this all the time. People who work for a living that are evicted from their apartments or can't afford it, and because the rents just keep going up. And there's also active evictions of people, like, that's a whole other story for another video. But basically, a lot of evictions, because what happens a lot now is the landlords want to make so much money that long-term tenants who have been there for even decades, so they can't increase. There's a rent cap that it can't be increased if you are a long-term tenant, and the landlords know that, so they evict those tenants so they can get new tenants in and put it at the market rent. That is a common thing that happens here now. The tenants don't have, I'd say they don't have any rights, but tenants are starting to fight back now because it is illegal what they are doing, I believe, and it's certainly not right. But the greed has it's overrun everywhere. Greed everywhere. The landlords just want to make as much money as they can. They don't care where people live. They don't care if you are living on the street. They don't care. All they care about is making the most money and profit that they can, and they will evict senior citizens. They will evict families with children. They will evict anybody. They don't care. They want maximum profit, and a lot of long-term tenants are being evicted under a stupid excuse. They will use the excuse of renovations. That's what they try to do. I'm renovating the place, when their full intent is to just evict you because they want to rent it higher and they can't to a long-term tenant because there is a rent cap. That is what's happening here. And the Salvation Army workers say it's getting worse by the day, and they are absolutely right, because I see it getting worse by the day. More and more people end up in their cars. Yeah. So, I will leave this video at that. Have a good night.